Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Movie City podcast. Before we begin, don't forget to join our Discord server and follow us on all of our social media.
This week, we decided to talk about 28's Kung Fu Panda. Directed by Mark Osborne and John Stevenson, written by Jonathan Aibel and Glenn Berger, starring Jack Black, Dustin Hoffman, Angelina Jolie, Ian McShane, Jackie Chan, Seth Rogen, Lucy Liu, David Cross, Daniel Dun Kim, and James Hong. The Dragon Warrior has to clash against the savage Tai Lung as China's fate hangs in his balance. However, the Dragon Warrior mantle is supposedly mistaken to be a bestowed upon an obese panda who is a novice in martial arts. Beware that there are spoilers. First, before I ask you what did you think about the movie, I have to say that I'm so excited that we're finally doing animation. Like, I'm an animation fanboy. I love it, and although we didn't start on Disney or Pixar or something like that, later, but I'm so happy that we're doing animation, even if it's a movie that I have mixed feelings on. So now, guys, what did you think about the movie?
For me personally, after watching the movie again after a lot of times, I think I liked it even more. I think it was fantastic, fabulous, whatever you wanna say. I really enjoyed every single minute of it, and I think while watching the movie, for me, time passed very quickly. I didn't even notice that 1.5 hours had passed. And I think that the messages it was trying to get across, if you tried to find them at least, the more hidden ones you would find them easily, and the main messages I think were quite easy to understand because I think the main purpose of the movie is for kids, but I think but I think that the movie is for everyone, not for kids, because I think that's a big misconception that a lot of people do.
First of all, I want to say that the movie was 2 hours, so that again shows how easily
No, it
time
was
One
one
and
and
a
a
passes.
half,
half
No,
hours.
it was
91
one and a
minutes,
half.
one and a half, one and a half.
No, it was 1:53. I just
No, no,
No,
no,
no,
no. One and
No,
a half.
91
you
minutes,
watched the wrong
91
movie.
minutes.
And
I
and it
was
had an post
I think I
credit scene. I
downloaded the
don't
Nah,
wrong
know if
Kung Fu
you saw it.
Panda.
yeah,
it
idiot,
says 1.5 1:53.
dumbass.
No,
Kung Fu
No,
one
no, no.
and
Panda.
1:34. It says.
Okay, I may be wrong. Okay, I also liked the movie. I think you don't have to search for the central messages. Like, you could realize that everything that Uguay was saying was like a masterpiece. Everything that came off his mouth was pure gold. So every line he said had a meaning. And we can see that throughout the movie, like again and again, especially yeah, the Dragon Warrior stuff, then nothing happens by accident, everything.
So, based on what you said, of course, the movie is not like what Pixar does, which them are focusing on mature audiences only at this point. But it's a movie that kids can enjoy and adults can enjoy as well. It's it's like there's a balance point. It's not like something that adults are going to get bored at, but it's not something hard that kids are going to have a hard time, following and understanding. They're both going to have fun. All right. It's not like Soul, the first thing that popped into my head.
That's one of the best animated movies I've seen. Like, since I was a kid, I remember that movie and I was like very, I would say, hyped and very happy that I was able to see that movie on the cinemas. Um, and I still think that's one of the best animated movies I've seen. Yeah, it's not like as deep as Pixar and doesn't have as many meanings and like messages, but still, what it tries to like show us and like pass to everyone is like to the point and is very important to understand. So I think that's one of the best movies. And
I agree, but what I said was like a kid is going to get bored at a Doctor movie. Like a kid can follow Soul.
why?
He's going to get
Okay,
bored.
let's not talk about
Eventually,
Soul.
he's going to get bored.
Let's not talk about Soul. Let's let's keep talking about like Kung Fu Panda.
Another at
And
No,
another
it's just
time.
random because it was recently released. But
yeah,
every doctor movie has that fact.
but
Kids are
still,
gonna get bored.
since you mentioned that, I would say that's an extra point from my perspective. That's an extra point that I give to DreamWorks since they managed to like pass many messages to everyone and it was enjoyable. Like the movie was like for everyone, kids and
Yeah,
adults.
I'm not saying that it's good or bad. uh, I like it what Pixar does, but of course it's good that there are companies that can balance it and have kids enjoy movies as well because DreamWorks does that.
Okay, to get things back on track, about what you said earlier about the way with all his lines, with hidden messages and everything. I think the best lines came when he was with either Paul or with Sifu on the peach tree. This is a place where he gave his most famous line, the one with a present. You know, obviously this line is the line that pops up in your head when you think of Uguen, the Kung Fu Panda franchise as a whole, and it has a nice ring to it because as a kid you hit that quote and you quite don't understand what he's saying, but as you grow up you understand more of the saying.
I totally agree with
I
what you're saying. I think that when I first saw the movie, I didn't even like remember that he said that line. But now that I rewatched the movie for like the second time, I think it's like this line specifically makes you have like deep thoughts about some things. And I think that's
And that's
beautiful.
what we were saying earlier about the balance. Because you as a kid watching the movie didn't notice it, but you as a more mature person noticed it, and the kid just liked the comic relief and the fights and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
you as the mature person liked that, and that's the balance we were talking, and that's really good.
I think that as a kid you won't notice it, but I think kids work in such a way because they don't really care what's about to happen or what happened. They care that what they do now, that they play or they do whatever. And I think that's something that
Oh
Hogwarts
wait,
is
okay.
trying to say, that be more like kids, I think. Because Paul is more like a kid. He plays, he tries to see the fun out of everything. Even when she got beat up at the Furious Five, she was hyped and was uh, happy in some way that he got beat up by them and saw what they could do.
Before we move on to Paul, because like what you said for me is like something very important, I would like to say something about Uguay's relationship with Sifu. I think that Uguay, I think that Uguay's patience and intentional extinguishing of its candle contrasts perfectly, like with Sifu's lack of patience. I think that we all remember the scene in which he was blowing off its candle one by one, and then Sifu like was very upset, and then he did like a move with his hand and like blowed off all the candles in the room. I think yeah, that's something really good, and it shows like the contrast between their characters.
And I think that Sifu understood that he was kind of wrong when he was impatient, because he said that Uguay was the wisest of us all.
Yeah, he had a deep appreciation for him, that's for sure. But after he passed away, he really understands his teachings and how to eventually apply these teachings to Paul.
I think that goes so that you can learn whenever and wherever by anything, because Sifu was still learning by Uguay, even though he was not really teaching him anything.
He was teaching him many things, as you said. Who said something about like the beach scene? I think in that
Maybe.
scene, yeah, I think in that scene specifically, Sifu learned a lot by Uguay once again. He learned a lot like that by trusting someone, you can help them become better. if you think that they will become better, they will eventually become better. Since you are the teacher, you have to motivate someone to become better.
And I think that's one of the main messages that the movie tries to pass on to us. That in time and with patience, everything can be achieved, but only if you keep your head level.
I think that's one of the many uh, messages the movie tries to pass on. I think that most of the messages focus on Poe and his and the way they saw him different. But we're going to talk about Poe later, so I'm not gonna explain many things about Poe right now.
So, does anyone want to talk about something that they dislike about we because we almost agree that the movie was flawless. No.
I think,
No.
yeah, he has a different opinion. And one
Yes.
last thing about Ogway. I think that Ogway showed Shifu when they were near the peach tree that he can't control everything in life, and whatever he does, he can't control everything. Like Poe,
He can't
he
control the outcome.
no, he said that he can't control everything. He can control some aspects, like when the tree will give its fruit, but he can't control what tree it would be or when it springs. It springs, and I think
So I think that's another important message that Uguay is trying to pass. And that message is like that there is nothing you can do to change the future. And we can see that in the Tai Lung scene. We can see that on the pit scene. We can see that when he talks about the Dragon Warrior. Yeah.
So what I wanted to say is that Ogway is doing something everybody did after Empire Strikes Back. He's a Yoda ripoff, of course, but he's doing it correctly. There are good ways to do a Yoda ripoff and bad ways. He's doing it right because he has a character. It's not just blank and just saying wise things, meaningful things. Everybody's saying meaningful things, but you need to add character, and he has character. And I like his ending. I like the way he dies, and I genuinely think that he is, if not the best thing in the movie, one of the best. So yeah, best moments in the movie, lines, pit scene, death scene, all that stuff. You
I
just said.
I don't see him as a Yoda ripoff because
Come on.
oh, wait, let me explain. Lucas, when he wrote Star Wars, he took inspiration from many cultures, religions, and all this stuff. And I think that Yoda is a ripoff of the sensei or of the master that they had in China. Just
He's
the thought. I
The,
the
don't. Yeah.
protagonist's
Let's
master that dies and becomes a spirit, and he's green and saying wise stuff with a stick.
let's
And
let's
he's a
not
comic relief.
Oh,
let's
okay,
not talk
let's
about
forget
Star
about that.
Wars.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, let's not talk about Star
yeah,
Wars right now. It's not a good idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Everyone
You
disagrees.
never know.
how this
Um,
happened, we are smarter
But
than
I see
this.
him as a Yoda ripoff, but it's a good one.
so to get back on track, let's talk about Poe now. I think that Poe is not a typical protagonist. He's not like that cocky and like knowing everything protagonist, but instead he's like a humble person and a kung fu geek. And I think that's what makes him special.
Yeah, and you can see from the beginning when he dreams of being part of the Furious Five, he dreams himself as something he's not because he's dreaming himself as not as humble as he was and almighty and handsome and whatever. And after that, I think he changed because when there was an identical scene when he had the hat and the cape through the smoke. That really was a pun and his apron and his apron. He didn't care about the people. He just went back to Sifu to see if he was okay.
Since you mentioned that he likes the Furious Five, you know, he's kind of fanboy. He knows stuff. He has studied a little bit of the legends. He knows what they did in their fights and all that stuff. I think that was a kind of a missed opportunity to do a very well meta narrative point to the movie. Like, get us to know the Furious Five, make us fans, and then show Paul through that fanboyism.
I
And just
disagree
give
with
another
that
20 minutes to the movie. It's like,
Yeah.
what, 90 minutes? And you
the
Furious 5
movie
look cool, right?
the movie
And
the
I get
movie
why Poe is a fanboy, but they don't have, like, you know, we don't get to meet them.
We didn't
And
the
really
mo-
see them in action, yeah. Only
but the
when they
we
fought
movie,
Tai
saw them in the
Lung.
bridge scene, but we didn't get to meet who are
yeah,
they. They are
because
the dudes that know Kung Fu. It's
the movie is not called Kung Fu Furious 5. It's called Kung Fu Panda. What do you want to see? Like their backstory? We don't even like talk about like Poe's backstory. You see them, they're
yeah,
very
okay, but
they're
they don't have characters.
no, they do.
No,
How would they do?
the characters are shown when they see that Poe is the Dragon Warrior. Everyone is upset about it, especially Tigress and Monkey. And Monkey he seems a bit more, I don't know, sympathetic to Poe and Viper.
I think
Yeah, if you pay attention to the scenes where they're with him, like in the dining room and eating his, specialty, they all present themselves in a way because they praise him for making such a good meal.
I want to say something again.
Mm.
I don't get what you're saying about like that they don't have a character and we don't see their characters throughout the
No, no, no.
movie. Um, no, that's basically what you said. You said that we don't like see who they are really are. Like you said that we can't understand why Poe is a fanboy, and then again, I have to say that they're cool. You saw them like Crane was flying around, like their kung fu fighting like style was fabulous, and that's why Paul was a fanboy. He didn't meet them, he didn't know them, and when he met them, he felt a bit like discouraged and a bit upset because they didn't accept him for what he was, because they thought that he took their place as Dragon Warrior, which he did eventually. So yeah.
I mean, they trained for years and then just a big giant panda fell from the sky and took their place.
Yeah, of course, but then their reaction shows that they have a character, that they have emotions.
And I think that the most effect from this was Tigress because Tigress was the predecessor of Tai Lung, and she was trained to become eventually the Dragon Warrior. But in the end, it didn't roll that way, and I think that's why she didn't like Poe. At least for the majority of the film. But everyone else, after 20 minutes of screenplay, they chatted with him and eventually hanged out without being annoyed by him.
I don't really get why they were that upset. I get that they trained their whole lives for this, but I think that that being the Dragon Warrior was not for anyone to take. That it was not specific. It would be someone that would be the special one, the chosen one, as they say, to be the Dragon Warrior, to bring peace to the valley.
So, since we were talking about their characters, I want to say that, in my point of view, Tigress is not trying to become the Dragon Warrior to impress everyone else, but to impress Sifu and make him feel like that he succeeded on his goal and that he trained the Dragon Warrior. And I think that's what makes Tigress special. So, as I said before, I think that each one of the five has a character, and their characters are developed throughout the film, and we meet them. So yeah.
I think that she did it for Shifu, but she also did it a bit for herself because it seems that she could not accept someone being the Dragon Warrior, especially Po, who was an outsider to their community as Kung Fu fighters.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and it makes sense though. I would react the same, like someone who fell off the sky became the Dragon Warrior. They were trained for years to become the Dragon Warrior. And yeah, it makes them upset, but still I don't think that's a reason that she wanted to become the Dragon Warrior. I don't think she did it. She wanted to become the Dragon Warrior for herself, as I said.
I think it's a mix of both.
Yeah, I think she did it because Sifu, after he failed to train Tai Lung and make him to a Dragon Warrior, he started neglecting his students a bit, and he trained them, but he wasn't there for them as a father figure, let's say, like he was to Tai Lung. And so she wanted to be noticed by him, and she wanted him to smile again because said he hadn't smiled in a long time, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason she and the other four, left and went to fight Tai Lang. When Tigress heard like the conversation between Po and Sifu, she felt discouraged, but she wanted to make Sifu proud of her. So I think that's the reason they left and went to fight Tai Lang without Sifu knowing.
So basically, they were ahead of them. They were getting ahead of themselves because Tigers believed that she needed to fill a void that Tai Lang left in Sifu when he turned evil to take the Dragon Scroll, and Tigers was eventually a way to make things right for Sifu, and that's why she goes out of her way to disobey his orders and try to stop Tai Lung.
So I wanted to say something about post training with Sifu. I think that we also at the beginning Sifu didn't believe in him, and Sifu didn't have an idea of how to train him. He didn't know. It was a challenge for him as well, because Bo was out of shape. He had to start from level 0, as it was mentioned previously in the movie. Um, and then Sifu did something very smart. He saw Paul like eating and like breaking like the shelves to take food and eat. And then he told him that, oh, I thought you took monkey's cookies, which he like stores at the upper shelf. And then Paul climbed and did like a very nice move, a very nice kung fu move, and Shifu was impressed. And then he realized that the only way to train Paul, the only thing that motivated Paul the most, was food.
And I think what they were trying to say here is that everyone has a motive, and with the right teachings and with patience. And
Everyone can succeed.
yeah.
I think that Ogway also showed him that not everyone is the same, and that not everyone will that not anyone with the same treatment will achieve the same things, because Paul, he could progress and be trained through using his love for food.
And I think now, like, for me, the scene in which Po and Sifu were fighting for the dumplings, it was the one of the funniest and like best scenes in the movie. I think the way they had like how Sifu connected training with food was spectacular, and I loved that scene.
So, because you were saying about the post training, I think it's a good way to fit in something I want to say, from the beginning, that I think that the movie's biggest, the thing that it does, it's a comedy, of course. It has a lot of jokes all the time. It's actually its biggest flaw because it uses that comedy in a level that it overshadows the script. Because Poe defeats Tai Lang and's been training for, I don't know, 20 years. What did they say?
Ogwe wasn't training to defeat Tai Lung.
No, no. Tai Lang was trained for the 20 years ago or something.
Yeah, but I don't.
Yeah, he's been training for so long. He's a master warrior. Only Ogwe could defeat him. And it just seems so stupid. It's completely throwing me out. Like what it is, like
Wait.
towards the end of the second act and the entire third act is just completely out of me.
I totally disagree with what you're saying again. I think that we've seen in many movies the prophecy like of the one in many different movies, and as it's mentioned in the movie, Dragon Warriors like duty is to defeat Tai Lang, and it's written like you can't change that. So Poe, as the Dragon Warrior, which he is, managed to defeat Tai Lang. I don't get why you're saying it doesn't make sense to you.
It's his duty to defeat Tai Lang, but he has to be able to. It seems stupid that he's able to, in the terms that Poe is who he is and who he has been introduced to be.
Yeah,
and in 1 week, he's been trained through food. It's used for comedy. It's a joke, but it takes the. It just I don't feel it. It seems so stupid in my head that
no, because
it throws me out.
let me
Sorry.
explain something to you. Besides all that I just mentioned, that he is a Dragon Warrior, he also gets the scroll, and only he was the only one to understand what the scroll was actually trying to, like, what was the meaning of the scroll. Not even Sifu realized when he saw the blank scroll. Not even Tai Lang, not anyone. Just Poe. By the help of his father.
Also, I want to stand on something you said about the fact that he was trained for 1 week and was able to defeat him. And I think this goes all the way back to the thing we discussed earlier, where we said this that the main audience of the film is for kids. This specific detail you wouldn't notice it as a kid because you want to see action as a kid, right? But now it shouldn't annoy you. It's for kids. That's our argument. It's for kids. Kids will notice that.
I don't think it's a kids movie. I stated that earlier. I think it's a movie that can focus, as most DreamWorks movie, like most of them. I can think that some DreamWorks movies that are entirely for kids, but I don't think that's a kids movie. It's a movie that can draw audience from both kids and more mature people.
Yeah,
but if they want to make a film about adults, they wouldn't have him trained for only 1 week because everyone would be pissed that he defeated him in 1 week. But kids wouldn't notice that detail and would be frustrated, like you are.
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah, but I am. I get that. As a kid, I don't think it would have bothered me, but it bothered me because I'm not 8 years old.
When
I was 8 years old, yes, it didn't annoy me. I didn't even notice it, but now I'm noticing it.
I don't agree with either of you because I think Ogwe said that if you believe it, you have to believe that he will achieve it. And Poe started to believe it. Sifu started to believe it. Poe understood that the power he needed is inside of him, and that's the point of the scroll. It was a mirror to show him that the secret ingredient is himself, and that even with 1 week of training, he had the magic key, if I can say, he needed to defeat the.
Tai Lung.
Yeah,
Tai
to
Lung.
defeat Tai Lung, because he was a dragon warrior. If it was Tigress against him, she would have lost, and if it was even Sif or
She did
Ogway,
lose. She did lose.
yeah. But again, if she if she trained again excessively for 1 week, she would even lose. Because the point is that Poe is the chosen one. He has the power inside of him to defeat the Tai Lung.
I get that. You're making a good point actually, but if you want to do something like that, like not have him train for long, I and still being the chosen one or something, I feel like you should try to defeat him in another way, not in hand-to-hand combat, kung fu, because kung fu is shown that it's Tai Lung's thing. Like, do you remember in the Lego movie where, practically the same things happen? No, not exactly the same thing, but you discovered that Emmet is not actually the chosen one because there isn't one, and that's why Emmet is the true chosen one, because when he thinks that he's the chosen one, that's when he succeeds. But he doesn't defeat. I forgot the villain's name. The main antagonist with
Tai Lung.
magic powers. No, no, I'm talking about the Lego movie, like a parallel.
Okay.
He doesn't defeat him with chosen one or the special magic powers. He defeats him with who he is, and that's who he is, and that's when he makes the difference. And that's why he's the chosen one. Here,
Yeah.
you're making Paul the chosen one, Dragon Warrior, but you're making him win in Tai Lang's element, Kung Fu, with only 1 week training, and that it just feels unnatural to me.
He
Like,
didn't really defeat him through kung fu. He used silly moves. He used his belly. He used his butt.
He
And
did a special move at the finale. He did
yeah,
that
at the finale,
with the
the
finger.
move. Even if I saw it once and tried it, I could have pulled it off. It was easy because he believed it again, and he used the power inside of him. And he only used kung fu once in the entirety of the fight. Tai Lung was trying to get the scroll, not defeat Poe, and at the end, when he tried it, Poe just used his silliness in a way to defeat him. He didn't use kung fu or any special moves.
and that's why he in a specific moment he was starting to lose. But in the start of the fight and in the end of the fight, he was using his environment to his advantage. That's why he won. He didn't want hand-to-hand combat. He couldn't do that. He wasn't still able to do that.
I
Yeah.
get what you're saying. Still, it's well written. It makes sense, like on paper, but I don't see it still. Sorry. Okay, we disagree on that. I think we should move on. We've
I still
stayed here
don't get
too long.
what you disagree on exactly, because like basically they've given you points in which like you can like understand that, and you said yourself it's well written. So I don't
Yeah, it's well
exactly.
written. It's not well executed.
What do you mean well executed? What did you want to see? Like him
If
like
they had Paul winning through some kind of a more special way to
okay.
prove that he had it all along inside him, and that's why he's the Dragon Warrior. That's why Ogway selected him. There are no accidents. It would make sense,
I
and
want to
that's
say
what you're
two
saying.
things.
But it doesn't. He still defeats him with kung fu.
He
He defeats
defeats
him in
him
fight.
with his way like of fighting. He's not fighting like Tigress or Monkey, or Crane, which they weren't able to defeat Tai Lung. He's special, and he managed to defeat him. And then again, I don't exactly get. Um, you said something about like you said that Poe is not like you want to see like defeat Tai Lung in another way. So if they did that,
Yeah.
why would we want to see him training? Like we spent a lot of time seeing Poe training to become the Dragon Warrior. If he defeated him with any other way, with fireworks or whatever, I don't know, it wouldn't be nice. And don't forget, yeah, it's this movie is not only for kids, it's for adults, as you said. Yeah, it has many messages, but it's mainly for kids. And when I was a kid, I wanted to see like a climax and then a rising action. And you see that in the movie. Like at the beginning, like Poe is like a very like humble person, and then he becomes a dragon warrior, and then he's training, and then at the end you have that beautiful fight between Tai Lung and Poe. And since I'm a kid, I want to see Poe winning, and he won in a different way. He used kung fu because he was trained to defeat Tai Lung in a week, yes, by using kung fu. But then he didn't follow like the traditional style of kung fu. So I think that's a huge point that you're missing.
So I get what you're saying still, but it bothers me. Sorry. And maybe you didn't get it, but I said that the training doesn't seem that it's. I think it's so stupid that he's training through food that I have a problem from that scene towards. So the training doesn't do it for me. So what you said just cancels itself. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay, one last thing. I think that's again what always said. Not everyone is the same. Not everyone will, after the same process, will give out the same results. So that's all I'm gonna say.
yeah, okay, cool. So about the actors, I think everyone does a good job. I didn't expect from Angelina Jolie to do Tigress, but I enjoyed her. If I hadn't checked, the credits and IMDb, I wouldn't have known. She does a good impression of not not understanding that it's Angelina Jolie.
I
And
think it
another
would
pleasant.
be impressive if she could do the tiger sounds. If she did that,
Okay, that okay. That she doesn't have like a huge role in the movie, but
and she
I
doesn't talk much. So when she does, it's very
yeah,
nice.
but it was well. And
Yeah.
another pleasant surprise was Mantis was Seth Rogen, which was unexpected in so many ways. Like that's not his style, and it's funny. Um, Everyone else did their parts well. I think. Okay, of
Jack
course.
Black was amazing,
Yeah,
as
yeah. He
always.
of course. That's what I was about to. That's what I was about to say. He's very good at Poe. He's the one that stands out more. And I don't know why Saki-chan is in there. I don't think that was a role for
You
him.
have
Like,
something with Kung Fu. I think he must be there.
yeah, it's his thing, but
You are
I don't
obliged
know
to
why you
put.
get a
you
that
are
expensive actor to just say 5 lines that Monkey has.
you are
But
obliged to
okay,
put him somewhere. You don't care where. He must be there.
okay, okay. I just remember random. Do you remember in the Lego Ninjago movie where it's just Chucky-chan as a human and just
Yeah,
appears? It's so random, and then he does the voice of Master Wu. So
yeah.
random.
He just
Any,
must be there.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, does anyone else want to add anything in the actors? I don't think I had a complaint from someone. It's not like an Oscar of voice acting, but it's very well. Jack Black
Yeah,
stands up mostly.
I think I don't have personally to add anything else. I think we're good to move on.
Okay, so a little bit about the technical stuff. The movie uses a regular 2.39 to 1, nothing special to say here. In the animation, I wanted to stay a little bit. Like, it's okay animation, it's good for 2008. Like, DreamWorks never was like the top of the animation industry. Um, but I see some interesting things here. I like the when they did those like grabs when they disabled nerves, the flashes going throughout the bodies of the characters. That was a well both lighted and executed animation process.
I think the water animation was also quite nice. In the
What?
river and
Sorry.
the water animation in
Oh
the
yeah,
river and the small pool they had inside the temple.
yeah. The water was nice. The only thing that just wasn't that well was the fire. Like fire is hard. It's hard to do well done fire in animation, and it was like it's that thing in the training room where it just pops out. And I think you shouldn't have included that. You see that you can do good fire, and it just seemed really weird, the fire. And also Viper. I don't know that when they did some close ones, it she felt kind of plastic in terms of the lighting that no one else had. Like Poe's fair was well rendered. Like they didn't have crazy movement, but it was well rendered when they did close-ups to Poe. It was good. I could see the hair and all that stuff. Viper had like a plastic thing, like she was an action figure or something.
I think
I don't
that's
know.
because she's a snake and she doesn't have fur
Yeah, but they
or
didn't do.
skin.
Have you seen what DreamWorks has done to Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon? Like it has
No,
a
I don't
gill,
remember it.
and Viper just felt flat. Like it was weird when it was like a fight scene and you couldn't see her up close. It was okay, but those close-ups that you could have removed those and didn't feel so unnatural to the whole animation. Do you have anything else to add? I wanted to say about character design a
I
little
think,
bit.
yeah, you can move on.
Okay, character design was interesting. I mostly liked Tai Lung in terms of what they did. I think he was interesting. He had nice colors to his skin. You felt that he was big. You felt that when he breaks out of prison, when we first see him, it's going to be epic, and it was really nice scene. I didn't mention that. Amazing scene when he breaks out of prison. But the citizens and random people passing around, they were the same. You felt like they were just cloned, and some even had like the exact same um, clothes, and it just felt weird. And also the duck, you have two duck characters. You have Paul's father, and you have the messenger. I don't remember his name. You know, the one that goes to the prison and says to double the
Yeah,
guards.
yeah.
Yeah, and he was the exact same as Poe's father, with just different clothes. That's weird. When you
Yeah,
have
the pigs were also.
yeah, but the
Quite.
pigs, you don't have like a pig main character. You have but you have two main duck characters, and it's weird. The pig,
Yeah.
I'm saying, general citizens, bunnies and pigs and all that stuff, they were exactly the same. It was weird. Don't do it if you like. Give a little budget to do something different about the people, because if they're the same, it's weird.
Yeah, okay,
But
I get that.
that's what I want to say. Color wise, it has like a little bit orange grading, like through the streets and the trees and all that stuff. All go towards the orange, even though they're not designed that way. I think it's mostly that they have a lot of sun rising frames to the movie. But okay, that didn't bother me. It was nice, I guess. It's not. The lighting is well done in every scene. And the night scenes, like the one Ogwe Dies, were also pretty beautiful with the sky and star design. So yeah, in general, that's what I want to say. Oh, sorry. I wanted to say about the sound of the movie. There is an interesting score, and there is one scene that I said that I didn't like the scene in general, but you know that scene that Poe is being trained with Sifu? Like, they have a music montage with him training, and you could have added an original song with lyrics there, and it's just blank music, and it felt weird for me that
I don't. I like that. I think it
okay, that's
it was
perfect.
it went in hand with like the whole scene,
Yeah,
so I
but it's
liked
just
it.
score. I'm not saying don't add music. Like, Do you remember in Big Hero 6 when they showed up and it has Immortals?
I remember the song. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have preferred a song with lyrics, not just score. Sound wise, it's a Dolby Digital, well rendered. I did have a problem hearing. I liked the sound effects of air and all that stuff. I don't have anything specific to point out here. So I think we can go to our personal ratings. Do you want me to begin? Because I was talking.
Yeah, as you're talking, go on.
So, as I said, I love animation, but I have problems with the movie. It's not a bad movie. If you spend one night enjoying it, if you're a kid or an adult, I think you're going to have fun. It's worth watching, but it has some flaws that, especially in the third act, that completely throw me out. That with the tone that I didn't like. I mostly prefer a movie to be a little bit more serious with itself and not that have that much of a comic relief, which just didn't fit for me. I like to I said before the Doctor style, the more serious one, but it's all right. It's just not for me. That in combination with the whole animation that I have a little bit of problems in some ways, I give it a 4 out of 10.
For me, I love the movie. Since I first saw it in the theaters, my love for this movie has only grown since then. So I would give it an 8.5 out of 10.
For me, this time watching it, the movie seemed much better. I don't know why, it just clicked with me, and I think I'll give it a 9.5.
Well, I mean, it's a movie I really like from my childhood. I think it's the best we've reviewed so far. I mean, we've only reviewed 3 movies, so I'll have to give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Um, I was a huge fan of the movie. One of the best animated movies that I've ever seen. It's a movie that I will always remember, and I love all the characters, Sifu, Paul, everyone. I talked about my opinion, and I would give the movie a 9 out of 10. So that makes the total score of the movie, the total rating of the movie, 39.5 out of 50. I think that's a very good score. I would say I was prepared to see like a 40 something, 45, but still that's a good score for the
But
movie.
we have the 4.
Thank you very much for listening to another podcast episode. Follow us on Spotify if you're listening on Spotify. If you're listening on YouTube, subscribe and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when new episodes go public. Don't forget to join our Discord server, link in the description down below. You will be able to learn what the movie of the week will be way before the actual episodes, discuss the film with other people, and if you're lucky, who knows, maybe you can join us as a guest. You'll learn tons of movie and TV show news to our news segment, and you will be able to join special events that we are planning. You can also follow us on all our Movie City social media and our personal ones that are down in the description as well. We will see you all next time.